was a kid, my family used to go to Costco almost every Saturday. It was kind of a routine for us, and we would typically go in the morning. We would get most of our groceries for the week, so it would take us about an hour to do so, but for some reason, I always had a good time going. One day, I think my sister was at a friend's house or something, and my dad was working on his car, so it was just my mom and I who went to Costco that week. I think I was maybe 8 years old, so part of the memories are a little bit blurry. I do remember that after we got there, we first went to get cereal, and then some snacks. After that, the rest of the items that we got didn't interest me as much. We shopped for close to an hour, and after filling the cart almost all the way full, we were almost done. My mom was still looking at a few things though. I was bored, and I wandered off a little bit to look at more interesting things. I never really went that far away from my mom. I usually just stayed in the same aisle as her. This aisle, however, started to get really busy, as I was at one end and my mom the other. By the time I made it back to where I thought my mom was, she was now gone. I walked to the next aisle over, but she wasn't there either. I decided to go out of the aisles towards the front of the store where you could see more. When I walked over there, the store was really busy, and with all the people, I had no idea where she was. Just then, I saw a man walk up to me and tell me that my mom was looking for me. I remember that I asked him where she was, and he told me she was leaving and I had better hurry. I suddenly got really nervous and began walking to the front of the store. The guy told me to follow him, and we both started walking pretty quickly towards the exits. I was 100% convinced for some reason that my mom had left the store without me. Looking back, I can't believe how stupid I was, but the guy seemed really convincing. Plus, I was just 8 years old. I remember we made it to the exit doors, and we were right about to leave, when I suddenly heard my mom's voice. She was yelling, and it sounded like she was still inside the store. I looked behind me and saw her running towards me. She was just passing by the check lanes. I looked back to the man, but he had now disappeared. He must have left when I looked back. I ran to my mom, and she asked me what on earth I was doing. I told her how I thought she had left, and the man told me she was in the parking lot. My mom told me that she would never leave without me, and that she had been looking for me in the store for the last 5 minutes. My mom then went and found a manager and reported what had happened. The police ended up coming as well, and we had to talk to them for a while before we could finally go home. My mom didn't leave me out of her sights for a while after that. I always get creeped out thinking about that day. I'm a female in my 20s, and I used to work at Costco a couple of years back. What I mostly did while working there was to be a cashier at the checkout lanes. It was a pretty typical job. I had experience as a cashier before, so right away it was really easy for me. I had been working there for a few months, when one night it made me want to quit. It was nighttime, and I was working at the check lanes like usual. It was about 8 p.m., and we closed at 8:30, so there really weren't many people shopping anymore. I had a little bit of downtime to just kind of stand near my register and wait for people to come check out. That's what I was doing when I was just casually looking around the store. I saw one of the aisles at the end of the store. There was a guy standing right in front of it, staring at me. He then started waving at me, and an extremely creepy smile appeared on his face. It was one of the creepiest things I had ever seen, and I immediately had to look away. A few moments later, I looked back again to confirm what I had seen. The man was still staring at me with wide eyes and a creepy, huge grin, and was waving. He couldn't have been any more of a creep. I walked to the other end of my check lane and stood there where he wouldn't have as good of a view of me, and I didn't look back to him. Eventually, other customers came, and I scanned their items. When I was done, without really thinking, I looked back around the store. The man was still there. He was still staring at me, and when he saw me, he began to smile and wave once more. I made a little gesture for him to stop, but when I did, he seemed to just laugh and then keep doing it. I walked over and found a coworker and told them about the guy. I went to go point him out, but the guy was now gone. I helped some more customers after that, and when I looked back to the guy again, he was still gone. I was relieved to see that, and hoped that he had finally left. I really did not want to see this guy again. We closed a short time after that, and thankfully, the guy was not in the store anymore, and I left and drove home. I lived with my parents at the time, and when I got home, I mostly just relaxed in my room and watched TV. Eventually, I got tired and got ready to go to sleep, turned out all the lights, and got in bed. I was laying down in my bed, which faced my bedroom window with a view of the backyard. As I was laying there, just looking straight ahead, about to close my eyes, I suddenly saw something come into the view of my window. It was a man, and the same man that had been waving at me in Costco. He had the same creepy smile on his face and was waving at me once again. I thought for a second that I had to be imagining this or hallucinating, but I then realized that it was in fact real. I sat up and screamed and then ran out of my room. My parents, who were still up, heard me and came over to see what had happened. We all went back into my bedroom, but the man was now gone. After going outside and examining all around the yard, we didn't see anyone and realized that the guy must have left. He never came back after that, and I quit Costco a short time later as well. I'm a 21-year-old guy and in college. Recently, over the past couple of years or so, I've gotten really into weightlifting and bodybuilding. When I started getting on a diet, I got a Costco membership so I could buy lots of food at a time and save money. One day, a couple of months ago, I was shopping one night. I was buying all the usual items that I would get, and maybe 10 minutes into my shopping trip, as I was picking something off the shelf, a woman made a comment to me about how much food I was getting. We chatted very briefly, just kind of joking around, and then we went our separate ways. I shopped for maybe 20 more minutes or so, and then checked out. It didn't take me too long, because the store really wasn't that busy. When I was done, I took my groceries out to my car in the quiet parking lot. I loaded them in, and when I was done, I heard a familiar voice calling out to me. I looked behind me and saw about 50 feet away in the parking lot, the same woman who I had been talking to inside the Costco. She was smiling and waving at me. She was maybe in her 40s and seemed pretty friendly. I waved at her, and she waved at me to come over. I walked over and saw that she had a bigger box on the bottom of her cart. She told me she had strained her back not long ago and asked if I could put it in her car for her. I told her sure, and I was happy to help out. She opened up the side door of her car, which looked to be around a 2015 Chevy Suburban. She asked me if I could place it in the back seat, and then apologized for it being a little bit bulky. I said sure, and I had to get inside the car to do so. As I was placing it in the back seat, I suddenly noticed that there was a man sitting in the back seat, almost hiding from me. Just as I was noticing him, and still had the box in my hands, he reached out and grabbed my arm. This man looked to be very large and had a strong grip. However, I myself am somewhat strong and was able to pull away from him. But when I had broken free from the man, I saw the woman slam the side door shut that I had gone in. The man then began to come near me, and I saw the woman standing in front of the side door as if to hold it shut. There was another box blocking the other door, so I went to the side door the woman was in front of and opened it anyways, just as the man was about to reach me. I flung the door open, and the force of it opening sent the woman back, and she nearly fell to the ground. The man then grabbed at me one more time, but I was able to make it out, and then rushed back to my car as fast as I could. There was no way that they were able to catch up to me running, and I saw the woman run to the driver's seat. When I got back to my car, I saw the Suburban start up and then screech away. I didn't get a license plate or anything, but I decided to go into the Costco and report what had happened. Since then, I've shopped at that same Costco several times, and luckily, never saw the woman or the man again.